I do not envy Mike Elko right now. Can you imagine the schedule? I mean, we know, we've been seeing it. He's doing the rounds, high school coaches, early signing days coming up. You got the portal. You have to recruit your own players to stay through this transition. You have to recruit portal players into your program. You have a bowl game. You have to self scout. You have to learn your personnel. What did I miss? Just a bunch of stuff. Oh, yeah, hiring a staff. Tommy Moffitt, Trooper Taylor, both added since the last time we talked. A couple of great hires. Elko has been making great hires. Still no word on the DC front. Apparently that thing is wide open. Could be an NFL name, according to Billy Lucci. That's beyond me. I couldn't even tell you who I think it is, but just so much going on. And on top of that, we have a little bit of a situation in Aggieland, folks. A little bit of an uncomfortable situation. You know what I'm getting at. We all love E-Rob. We're all grateful for E-Rob, what he's done over the last few years, the way he stepped up to the plate recently, what he means to these players, to this program in this transition. And of course, he took the job with Syracuse, kept him on board. And now things are getting a little bit uncomfortable, right? Rumblings of A&M portal players looking Syracuse's way. Of course, Fadil Diggs is from the area. Chase Basantis is from the area. It makes sense beyond E-Rob, but you have to believe players might want to follow a guy like him. E-Rob showing up at football games while still employed at A&M, but sporting and representing Syracuse. Little weird. Very weird. But then, of course, taking in-home visits with current A&M commits, Dominic McKinley, I don't know who else he's done that with or who he's going to do it with, while he's still on staff and the head coach at A&M. That's a really freaking weird situation, man. Really, really weird. That's a textbook conflict of interest, right? I'm trying to wrap my mind around whether or not he's doing something wrong, because he is doing his job. He is currently employed by two employers, which is just a weird situation to begin with. So I point back at the person who put him in the situation, allowed it to happen, and that's Ross Bjork. In hindsight, probably should have cut ties as soon as it happened. But I think we're starting to learn that Ross Bjork might lack a little foresight. A couple of things have happened. We know about him. I wanted to make this analogy. I don't know if any of you guys watch The Office. If you don't, I'll walk you through this. But Michael Scott puts in his 2 weeks notice, I think in season 5. And he's going to leave Dunder Mifflin, the company that he works for. During his 2 weeks notice, he takes Dunder Mifflin Stationery, tapes his name of his new company, Michael Scott Paper Company, over the title of Dunder Mifflin, and starts courting Dunder Mifflin clients. You know what Charles Minor, the new manager, did? He fired him. That's a conflict of interest. You can't allow that. You represent one entity while also representing another entity while trying to pull from one entity to the other. That can't happen. Charles Minor made the move. At this point, according to Lucci, you really can't make the move. It's too late. You'll cause too much damage by plucking Elijah Robinson from the current situation in this bowl prep. Players will be outraged. They're committed to him. He's told them to commit to this program to stay through the end. He has to do the same too. And if they see him go, whatever amount of players you think are going to enter the portal, I think even more would enter. That's what it sounds like. So, once again, lack of foresight. You can't pull the Charles Minor move. You can't cut ties now. So, guys, what do you think about this E-Rob situation? It's gross because we like him so much, and he's done such a great job as an Aggie. I mean, despite not having really won anything, not really a fault of his. Look at his recruiting accolades. It's amazing. This is kind of what he does. He's the best relationship builder / recruiter in the country, one of the best. It just kind of sucks. We're in this situation now. It is what it is. He can't really get out of it. He knows he has the leverage that he probably won't be fired. He's going to work for his future. Of course you're going to work for your future. You're going to appease your future more than you're going to want to appease your past. It makes sense. It's logical. So it's hard for me to say that he's a bad person for doing this or anything like that. It's just a bad situation that we find ourselves in. I just wanted to get those thoughts out there because it's really freaking uncomfortable, and I really hate to see it because I want to love Elijah. He's done a lot for this program. We move on. Guys, how y'all doing tonight? It's been a while since I've talked to you. Like I said, a couple of good coaching hires. We got early signing day coming right up. Schedule release tonight. I want to break that down with you guys. I've not really even looked at it. I think we all kind of knew what to expect in 2024 overall. We're going to look at that. I'm going to go through the current commits, just look at them, maybe get your thoughts on who we might expect to stick around. Sounds like a lot of guys are pushing back to the second signing day. So this is going to be a battle going forward. There was a little bit of DJ Lagway smoke. I want to talk about that. And then I want to get into the callers. Once again, this is a call-in show, guys. The call-in link is pinned in the chat. I believe we have open phone lines right now. We do have open phone lines right now. So if anybody wants to get in line, get on. You can vent about E-Rob, talk about the state of the program, talk about the transfer portal, wherever you guys want to go with it. We'll take it there. So let's say what's up to you guys in the chat. What's up, Truffle Shuffle? Good to see you, man. Asian Persuasion had to leave early tonight. No Jeb tonight. There will be no Jeb caller. So if anybody wants to get on and rant in place of Jeb, open phone lines there. Chris Cobb, good to see you. David Franz, Anti-Ag. Truffle Shuffle says, figured Diggs would go to Syracuse since it's close to home for him. Ben's talking about how these bowl games aren't as hype anymore. I know our bowl. I'm not very hyped for our bowl. Bowl practice started yesterday, by the way. And maybe we can talk about a couple things we want to see out of this bowl game. It'd be nice to affirm the fact that Jalen Henderson is a solid quarterback that can serve as Connor Wigman's backup next year and a guy we can have confidence in as a backup. We can see who's sticking around, who's playing hard. I don't know. Bowl games are losing their luster. Not really, in my opinion, because of the playoff, more because of, someone else alluded to it, opt-outs. It's in the middle of the portal season. It's like, I don't know if you're going to be seeing like real teams in bowl games anymore outside of the playoff. John Beatty, good to see you. Transfer portal will ruin college football. Transfer portal and college football playoff together hurting bowl games. I think bowls could survive despite just the playoff. I think teams, lower level teams who don't really have playoff aspirations can relish in the fact that they're in a bowl game, depending especially on their opponent, whoever they draw. The Blees, love and respect everything E-Rob has brought to being an Aggie, but he should have been gone the second he accepted a new job. Yeah. Let alone now that the recruits players are trending to a basketball school. Yep. Matt Myers, good to see you. Aftermarket Consulting, good to see you. All right. Gary Mertens, good to see you. Really like the Moffitt hire. Yeah, the Moffitt hire is a good one. He's one of the highest regarded strength and conditioning coaches in the country, won 3 championships at LSU. As the strength and conditioning coach, he's won strength and conditioning coach of the year several times. The only negative is he's a little bit older and he's been around. I think the skeptics will say that maybe he's not with the times, but I don't know, man. He's had a pretty good run, and that was not that long ago. I think it's a really good hire. It's a position that A&M really needed to get right, especially after losing the guy that was supposed to come with Elko from Duke. It's a really good hire. And Trooper Taylor's a really good hire, too, at running backs coach. I believe he's going to coach running backs here. He's coached a lot of different positions over his career, Trooper Taylor has. Really good recruiter, good relationship builder. Him and Sean Spencer, I think, are great position coach grabs, especially for building relationships with the players. I think that's huge. Guys, by the way, I'm battling some kind of illness here, so my voice could give out at any time in this show. So bear with me on that. I don't know if I can go as long tonight because of that. I apologize, but we're going to do our best and play it by ear, see how it goes. All right, what else are you guys saying? Space Jesus, good to see you. The E-Rob situation is a bad look. Do we have some type of non-compete clause or whatever the coaching contract equivalent? Apparently not, because it's happening. So apparently he's doing this because he's allowed to do this, and he's getting away with it because he's going to coach through the bowl game. I don't think anything has really changed. So Gary says, when E-Rob took the Syracuse job, we should have turned to Durkin for the bowl. Yeah, and Durkin's still employed. And there's no future, there's no DC hired yet. Is Durkin going to stick around? I don't think so. But yeah, Durkin could have coached the bowl for sure. Just given the fact that there's a major conflict of interest arising and happening before our eyes. Regarding the Moffitt hire, love the accountability story from LSU history, posting for NFL scouts. Yep. Everyone likes the Tony Moffitt hire. Everyone's high on this hire. I think Elko has done a great job since he's gotten here. There's just only so much he can do in this short period of time. Remember Jimbo's transition year? He added a couple guys late. Bobby Brown, he flipped him. Sternberger, I think a couple other guys. And he ended up ranked 17th in his 247 composite rating of the 2018 class, I believe it was. I think you finished top 25. You're feeling okay about a transition class. And then obviously you have portal that you can fill in some gaps with. 3 Oregon State guys were supposed to be visiting this weekend. 2 DBs and a linebacker. One of the DBs and the linebacker were brothers, and they have just rescheduled their visit for later in the year. They're visiting somewhere else this weekend, so that's not good. But I think the corner is still visiting this weekend. This is all coming from various insiders, rivals, 247 Texags. But yeah. All right, guys. Let's get into the first caller. Actually, before we get into the caller, Max, I'm gonna make you wait just a second. I want to talk about the schedule. So the schedule for 2024 officially released tonight. I actually haven't looked at it yet. I think we've all speculated what it was going to look like. We've gotten pieces over time about the schedule. And it finally all came together. So let's take a look at the schedule together. And I want to give you my thoughts the first time I'm reading it. Ted, it's all good. You don't have to call in. Next time. All right. Okay, so here's the schedule, guys. It's official. The order is set. This is how it goes down. Home versus Notre Dame to start the year. Obviously going to be a huge matchup. Elko's former team, Elko's former quarterback. At Kyle Field, opening weekend. We're going to be talking about that game all off season. It's going to be a lot of fun looking forward to that game. It's really fun to kick the year off with a bang like that. I think the last time we opened the year with a strong Power 5 opponent was UCLA in 2017, I believe, or 2016. No, 2017 at UCLA. I don't want to talk about that game. But this is just an awesome way to start the year. I like it. You know, you probably want to ease into the year more, but as a fan and as consumers of this game, it's just going to be a lot of fun. McNeese, you get a little bit of an easier opponent before you have to travel to Florida. I don't know what to make of Florida. That should be a winnable game, but I also don't know how much more A&M's going to lose before the end of this transfer portal season. But it's interesting that you go right into conference play in week 3. It's fun. I like it. As a fan, I consume it. I enjoy it. Bowling Green, another one of Elko's former teams, I believe. And then you're into the thick of your conference play. I believe this is the last game in Arlington versus Arkansas. I'll be at that game. I'm one of the rare people that actually really likes that game. Truffle Shuffle says Pate State will more than likely be at that game. So yes, in week 1, there are 2 contenders for Pate State / College Game Day. It's Notre Dame A&M and Georgia Clemson. The Georgia Clemson game is at a neutral field, I believe Atlanta. So I think that being on a college campus actually carries a lot of weight for those kind of travels. So yeah, I think Pate State definitely a week 1 contender. But that's another really good game in Georgia Clemson too, so it'll be interesting to see. But I'm hopeful that that's just an all hands on deck, like week 1 hype game. I'm all for it. Then after Arkansas, you got Missouri. I mean, Drink's building a program there. It's not going to be easy. I'm glad it's at Kyle Field. I want to believe it's a winnable game. I'm not making predictions here. We don't have enough information at all to make any kind of predictions here. We're just looking at the schedule. I'll probably put out another video about the schedule more in depth later on, maybe tomorrow or the next day. But it's fun to play Missouri when they're actually building a program and they're actually a pretty relevant team right now. So that's pretty cool to see them in Kyle Field. Be fun to go to that game. And then you get one of 2 bye weeks. I don't really know how they fit 2 bye weeks in. Did the season start a week earlier this year or something? Or is it going a week longer? Maybe one of you guys can answer that. Pate State will be at LSU USC in Vegas. Is LSU USC in week 1 too? I missed that one, David. Interesting. That's a good one too. But it's in Vegas. So, I don't know. I feel like they prioritize the on-campus games. So you get your bye week at Mississippi State. You keep that maroon versus maroon rivalry going. Be interesting to see where they're at next year. Another rebuild team. LSU moved to the middle of the year. I believe that's week 8. Be weird not to play them around Thanksgiving, but we have another Thanksgiving game to worry about now. Oh, David says it's on Sunday. Then he can go to both then. I think he went to multiple games week 1, David, this year. He went to the Thursday game, Utah, Florida, and then he went to a game on Saturday. Yeah, Tim, it's very interesting that Duke will be playing Elk will be playing his former quarterback at Duke. Yeah, it'll be a very intriguing matchup. But LSU in the middle of the year, it's gonna be different. It's gonna be weird. I'm sure it's still gonna be a crazy good game. It's been pretty competitive over the last 6 years. LSU should be good. We don't know what A&M's gonna look like. At South Carolina, the rivalry continues on the road versus South Carolina, who's kind of in a bad spot right now. Another game that's winnable. I'll give you my overall thoughts on the schedule once I get through it all. Then you get your November cupcake. Oh, you get another bye week. November cupcake, New Mexico State Aggies. It is what it is. I don't like those games in November, but I know why you schedule them. Then at Auburn, going to be a tough game. Play Cam Coleman. Don't like talking about that. They're going to be better next year. Hugh Freeze is building a program there. I mean, it was only a matter of time, I believe. Then the big one, Texas coming to Kyle Field. Saturday, November 30th, the rivalry renewed. So overall, what I really like about this schedule is that the away games are all manageable. So the really tough games on the schedule, LSU, Texas, Notre Dame, Missouri, if you want to call it one of the really tough ones, those games are all at home. All those maybe, I don't know, we want to call them 50-50, tougher games to win, they're at Kyle Field. You love to see that, especially with A&M's recent lack of success on the road. So the away game should be manageable. They should be manageable. But obviously, you're going to want to come out and set the tone week 1, Notre Dame. That's just going to be a huge game that, much like the Miami game this year sets the tone on the year. If A&M won that Miami game earlier in the year, we maybe feel a little bit different about the season because that was kind of a game that, in hindsight, you really scratch your head about why you couldn't get it done against them. But that's the schedule, guys. I'll talk more in depth about it as the weeks go on, as we think about it more, as things shake out and play out more. Let's see what you guys have to say about it. We should get game day on campus for Missouri, says Chris Kaw. Potentially. It depends on what Missouri does and what we do. It's hard to say after, the first couple of weeks when you're looking into a season. A&M is 1-7 when playing in College game day. Tennessee 2016 was the only win. That was an insane game. That's an interesting stat. So maybe we keep game day away from College Station. That made me laugh, John. Auburn didn't think the Aggies of New Mexico were a cupcake game. Right. I think Notre Dame loses a lot, but we'll see what they do in the portal. They'll probably be ranked. They're one of the quickest teams to reload in all of college football these days. All right, guys, we're going to get into some callers now, and we'll talk more about things as we move through the show. We have Max and Cody in the waiting room. There's some room for a couple more callers if any of you want to get on, but let's get into the first caller. Max, you're on with Drew. What's on your mind tonight, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. I saw the Moffitt hire, and I was like, oh, well, that's actually really impressive because instead of you getting Feely, you got like the godfather of Feely. Because I mean, Moffitt, from what I understand, Feely is on his tree.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, it's a great hire. I mean, from afar, I mean, I don't know him that well, but based on his reputation and knowing that's awesome to hear. So you approve of that hire? What do you think of the Trooper Taylor hire?
It sounds great, but my only issue is that Duke fans seem to think that nothing is official and that
Right, that's true. They've been
he
saying that.
and they've been like vehemently saying that actually he has not committed to coming, and I think we might have a Feely situation on
Ah,
our hands where not to say he won't come, but that people on the A&M side expect him to come, but he hasn't actually said whether he's coming or not to anybody necessarily. He's probably still, from how people are talking about it in Durham, he still hasn't actually decided yet.
okay, interesting.
So,
Yeah, I'm
so
glad you
we'll,
brought that up. That's very true.
so,
Okay.
so we'll see. We'll
Yep,
see.
yep.
But I mean, you can't. Yeah, I mean, in some respects, Taylor is as important to Duke as Elijah was to A&M because he had been there through multiple different staffs with Cutcliffe and with Elko. So to get
Yeah.
somebody who's of that much value to a program, it definitely would be great. But
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
want to comment on something that isn't truly official yet, or like more official than just we expect him to be here.
Right. That's a great point.
Um, uh, I was gonna actually ask you, how worried are you, scale 1 to 10, about the defensive coordinator situation in terms of just taking this long with the way people are entering the portal? And then I have some thoughts on some philosophy things about Santucci and Klein about why one is chose to come here and why the other might not choose to come here.
Okay, well, scale of 1 to 10, how worried am I about the fact that we haven't hired a DC? We're in the portal window, losing players. Uh, I guess if 10 is my most concerned, I guess I'm at around a 6.5, and that's going to steadily increase over time. I mean, sometimes these things take time. They do. Elko's made good hires thus far. I don't know why we have any reason to believe it won't be a good hire. You want to get it right. So I understand taking your time with it. The only thing that does suck, like you said, is you're just wasting portal window the longer you wait. So I'm gonna put it at a 6.5 right now. I hope he gets it right. I think he will. He seems like he's doing everything right so far. I think he's just going through his process and wants to find the right guy. Where are you at on that?
In terms of the actual person that he will end up hiring, I'm not worried at all. But in terms of the timing, I would put myself probably around the same place, maybe a 7. Uh, just
Yeah.
because I still don't think. I mean, you've noticed a lot of the players you have in the portal still haven't really committed anywhere. They're taking visits, but they
Right.
haven't. A lot of them haven't still haven't committed anywhere. So you're still in that phase where, yeah, maybe you made all the pitches you can make to them now. Maybe that pitch change, you can add some more to that pitch and talk to them again, or maybe they want to reach out and get an update on the program now that they've hired the defensive coordinator.
Absolutely. And besides that initial surge last week, I think it was like 13 players entered last week. I think only one other player has entered since then, and it was today, like our fourth string tight end Fernando Garza. So it's not like it's continued hemorrhaging. I think we'll see more activity potentially after the bowl game. So I think there is a little bit of a buffer right here. And yeah, it's a good point that you can use that as an additional talking point with some of these guys.
Well, I think a lot of them, it's not even necessarily just time boy. It's just like, hey, I didn't know what to expect. Let's go ahead and see what other people have to tell me, and then I'll check in and see how what everything is when it's settled down here a bit more, and then I'll decide if I want to stick around or not. But I want that flexibility of being in the portal in case I don't want to.
Yeah, and some of our insiders have said they're. I mean, it's definitely all hands on deck trying to recruit some of these guys that have entered the portal. I think there are some guys where the ship has already sailed. I don't know. I don't want to say which names because it's all speculation at this point. But there are definitely guys that are being heavily courted back to school. So yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, and then also just briefly, I know there's a lot of people, including even you, I'd imagine, are pretty upset about the Elijah situation. It's a tough thing for him, right? You got to consider he made a commitment to these guys that he would see it through to the end of the season with them. And then, yeah, I mean, but like, yeah, he took another job. But consider, I mean, a lot of these guys might have even entered the portal anyway, even if Elijah was going to stick around, or probably he wasn't going to stick around because he got offered like 5 or 6 or however many. He said he had a few defensive coordinator job
Okay,
offers. He said that in his press conference or whatever. I think he mentioned he had multiple offers, but Syracuse was the only offer that allowed him to stay for the bowl game.
gotcha.
So that's why he said. I think that was one of the reasons, in addition to the close friends and all that with Fran Brown.
Right,
That's one of
right.
the reasons why he decided to pick Syracuse. But because I mean, if these guys are going to enter the portal regardless, and he's going to leave regardless, then as long as, I mean, we don't necessarily have any proof that he's tampering or anything. They could be reaching out to Syracuse all on their own because they're. I mean, Fran Brown is a legendary, for as legendary as you can get for having a young coaching career, recruiter in the SEC, and now he's just picking off whoever's in the portal from his own territory. So
Right. It's really, I mean, I think we could have stomached all that, just been a little bit uncomfortable. It's just the in-home visit with Dominic McKinley, one of our top targets, and A&M commit. That is kind of a weird look, in my
yeah,
opinion. It's a conflict of interest. It's the situation at hand. I don't. I think I'm hesitant to say that Erob is really doing anything wrong. It's just a bad situation, I think, because
It's a product of the calendar.
yes, it's a product of the calendar. It's a product of the situation at hand, and he has to work for his future, and that's his future is Syracuse football, and he's just doing his duties while he also happens to be employed here. So it's just a product of the schedule and the situation that he's in, like you said.
Yeah, and is it worse to do that, or is it worse to leave behind all the players in that locker room that you committed to sticking around through to the end of the year and that you mean so much to you? I don't know. That's a personal choice that I'm not
Yeah,
sure if there's a good option in that one.
right.
Um, so some other thoughts on the defensive coordinator and the offense coordinator situation.
Uh huh.
So for Klein, think about this. One of the main reasons you would have to expect that he left was because not only the talent restrictions at K State, but consider the identity restrictions at K State. They hire a North Dakota State head coach. There are specific rules that those guys like to have about the identity of their teams. They're not going to always give you the full freedom to build a roster exactly how you want it. And you're going to have to run certain plays at certain times for game management purposes that they wanted their way because they wanted to be tough and physical and stuff like that. And other times you're allowed to air it out and have some fun, but not all the time. So now, if Colin Klein wants to actually build a legacy and an identity as a coach, he had to leave at some point or
Yeah.
become the head coach. And who knows when that's going to be an option for him.
Right.
So
Right.
it made sense for Klein. But then if you look at Santucci, who a lot of people seem to have some issues with historically at A&M, regardless of how well he did at Duke, he might say, hey, things are going great at Duke right now. Manny Diaz seems to be relatively popular in Durham, despite all the Miami fans trying to sling mud at him, which
Right.
I think is a little unfair because Miami fans Miami fans are like what people think A&M fans are, which is, and I'll explain what I mean by that, is that Miami fans think they're so wealthy as a school and that they have all their stuff together and they should be winning championships. But until very recently, they didn't have the donor support to support that. They
Right.
just now are finally getting that together because of NIL. It's like mobilized their support a little bit, but it's still not where it should be for a program of that much history and legacy.
Right. The
And
thing
they think
that's
that just
weird.
because they won it before, they can do it again. It's not how that works.
Yeah, and Miami's. I mean, when I think of Miami, I think of like party school, bunch of money, bunch of I don't know, huge fan base. It's a small private school. It's of an A&M with the alumni base of an A&M or an Ohio State, whichever schools have a huge alumni base. It's a small base, and yeah, it's weird. But I think Manny Diaz is a good fit for Duke. I think he's a young coach who's learned a lot, who's probably in a good place there. And with Santucci, I don't know. I want to ask the chat. I think I've asked before, but I want to ask again. How would we feel if after all this it ends up being Santucci as the DC chat? Because
I do
he
feel like people would at least be able to bought it. It took this long to just hire somebody he already
at
knew.
this point, right. If he came with him initially, it might have been received better, but he did have success at Duke. He does have a good relationship with Elko, but he did fumble some linebacker recruits at A&M. That's always been a knock against him. And then linebacker development wasn't the best under Santucci. But if you're talking about just strictly calling plays, I think he's a pretty good fit at Duke, and I don't see why it wouldn't be a good fit at A&M. But I think at this point we've been waiting so long. I think he's looking elsewhere. I think that would have happened already by now. Uh,
Yeah, I think he'll stick around at Duke because it's a good thing going there. People like him there. I'm sure Duke is not poor. I'm sure they can
yeah,
pay him enough. It's not like Kansas State where I wasn't it that Colin Klein was getting paid like 825,000 or something. I was like, wait, what?
right.
I can't remember the exact number, but that's what I saw around somewhere. Maybe he got a raise after that. But anyway, and then also the other thing I was going to say was about the portal, which was these guys that are in the portal. If they're like, oh, I mean, I get that like this stresses you out and like, hey, you wish there were more rules, and maybe there does need to be some regulations and restrictions just because it's too hard to control everything right now because it's just so much chaos, and actually it ends up putting players often in a worse position because
Yeah,
there's too much supply.
yeah,
but
absolutely.
but at the same time, consider that in the portal era, before what would happen with these guys is either you'd have to cut them from the team, which sometimes can be tricky to be allowed to do,
Right.
or or you have to keep them around and hope that they change. And a lot of the time they don't, and they become a cancer and they become toxic in the locker room.
Yep.
So would you rather be forced to keep around somebody who's like stuck in their ways about Jimbo and how much they like the relaxed, laid back culture, and then they don't like the fact that this LSU strength coach guy is coming in who is like naming guys who didn't show up to workouts on his window, and then you look at those guys and like now those are guys that are washouts in the NFL in a lot of cases, and you're like, well, I wonder why. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I think when you're in a transition, and the thing that, okay, here, I'll back up. The thing that sucks about kind of that line of thinking and that thought game, that thought question, is that in this given situation going into 2024, it was a year that we've had circled as a year we really think we can compete because the schedule doesn't have Alabama or Georgia on it. Plus, Texas and OU enter the SEC, so heightened competition, heightened stakes, with maybe a slightly easier path. So you really wanted to retain as much just raw talent as possible. When you lose some of those guys that were kind of wrapped in the Jimbo laid back way, you lose some serious talent. And I don't want to say names. I don't want to speculate who specifically those guys are. I think you have to draw out the poison. I really think you do, especially the way Mike Elko is kind of going about things. It seems like he's really building a foundation, young coaches. He's going out and he's planting seeds with high school coaches across Texas, across the country. I think you draw out the poison and you let some of those guys walk. I think you let those laid back old culture guys walk and you build things with guys, at least in this transition phase, that want to be here. It sucks to lose talent though. It sucks to lose talent in the SEC. But I think if you're building something long term, yeah, especially in the portal, yeah, you can get it all back. I think you need to suck out that poison.
And this is not a situation where you're not capable of getting it back. So I know it hurts right now, but I said it last time. I'll say it again. Just hang in there.
Yeah.
A couple more weeks, and it'll start coming around because the guys that you're talking to in the transfer portal right now, they're all taking visits.
Yep.
They're all in the DMs. They're talking to people. Next thing you know, they're like, "Oh, Texas A&M is a destination for me." How much longer can you handle not having a defensive coordinator before you're starting to worry about the fact that you might not be able to retain some of these guys in the portal because they don't know what they're going to come into, and so they might just decide to leave before you even get the coordinator.
Yeah, that and getting guys from the portal into the program too. I mean, it works with that. It works with recruiting. I think it affects everything. So, I mean, we've been hearing for a couple of weeks now that it's going to happen any day. So it needs to happen any day. And it's really time for it to happen because you're right. At this point, everything's kind of, I mean, what do you call it? Like on the tip of a razor, it could go one way or the other at this point. You get a DC that's respected, that brings hope and gets these players excited. Yeah, but with early signing day coming up, with this portal stuff coming up, the bowl game coming up, I mean, you got to make the hire sooner than later. So I don't know, man. What else?
If we're talking, I just want to say, we're still talking next Wednesday. And we
scary.
Still don't have a coordinator.
Yeah,
I would be. I might think my alarm bells will start singing. We might be at a 9. Out of 10.
Yeah, because it's going to start escalating real quickly now. I mean, these guys have been sitting in the portal for a while. They're going to start maybe really entertaining. These defensive guys might start entertaining some offers soon. So, yeah, man. Hopefully next time we talk.
Hopefully, yeah. And then the last point I wanted to mention was, this is just on my mind because this is someone I originally wanted at SMU back in the day, and then he ended up going to Texas Tech as a receivers coach. I think he's still there. Emmett Jones, the former South Oak Cliff head coach. He went up to Kansas with Leipold, then he went down to Tech with McGuire. If you still haven't got a receivers coach and you need somebody who's an ace recruiter, I hope you consider someone either like him or himself, because he's really good and up and coming, and I really think he could do some damage up down there in College Station. And I think Tech's ceiling is kind of capped right now, and they're starting to lose some of their top recruits they got earlier. And then they got Micah Hudson, but like it's going to be hard sledding at a place like Texas Tech compared to what you could do at A&M. And I think sometimes you just need to give some of those guys a shot at a big place.
Yeah. They got to get that one right. We've had some problems developing receivers over the last few years. So, hey, that's a name out there. All right, Max, what else you got?
Well, I guess I'll just leave it with this. Is everything that anyone has ever said about Moffitt should encourage you about the fact that Elko is making the right decisions for making a long-term foundation for this program.
Right.
And also, in particular, consider how long he stayed at LSU. And then he got fired, and he basically took his own time away from doing it for a team. He built his own business, and then Elko somehow manages to convince him to come back to the game for
It's pretty crazy.
One of A&M's one of LSU's sort of rivals.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing I can think of would be a rivalry lost in reverse would be like if, because it's close to me, like if Nebraska hired Bob Stoops like a couple of years after he retired or something. Except that's obviously bigger scale, but
Right.
it's just that's how crazy this hire seems to me, because like he's like a legend.
Yeah.
In Baton Rouge.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah.
And you look at
yeah.
you look at his technique; it's still up to date, still modern. He's not old school at all in like the wrong way. He's only old school in the accountability way, which is exactly how Mike Elko is. He's just the perfect hire, and you're like, how do you get this guy?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's a great hire. I mean, he's doing a great job. So I have high hopes for the DC hire. I think he gets it right, but we need to see it within the next week or so. I mean,
yeah,
it's time.
And hopefully, maybe it's the Troy coordinator now that Sumrall is off to Tulane. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see, man. Well, all right, Max. I appreciate you calling, and have a good night.
Have a night. Thank you.
Yeah, man, we need to get that hire done. It's getting to be time. We're in the middle of this window. Early signing days here. These early signees, they're not going to have a DC that they're pledging to. Let's take a look at the class real quick. I'm just curious. Once again, just a reminder I feel like I need to throw out there ever so often. I'm not an insider. I react. I commentate. I'm a fan. I have opinions. I give you guys a platform to talk. So any like inside stuff I give you is coming from either Rivals 247 or TexAgs. So let's keep that in mind. This is going to be a 247 composite list. I believe Terry Bussey is tearing it up in his championship game right now as we speak. Obviously, him and Don McKinley are absolute priority holds. Before we get into the list real quick, I don't know if you guys heard the little bit of rumblings about Lagway, Elko, and DJ Lagway is one of the top. I think he's a second-rated quarterback in the country, committed to Florida. Elko and Klein reached out to him. There was a dialogue. There was a conversation. I don't know if it was face-to-face. I believe it was over the phone. And they're trying to plant some seeds, and they tried to make a last-second push with Klein's system, new offensive look. From reports, Lagway wasn't too keen on getting into Jimbo's system. But now with Klein, I think he was more open to starting that dialogue again, according to insiders. He even liked a tweet regarding the potential of him getting – the tweet was about him getting courted by A&M. He liked the tweet, but then today he retweeted something affirming his commitment to Florida. So I don't think it happens. But in today's day and age, forming relationships early, pretty big deal, because you never know who's going to enter the portal down the road. So DJ Lagway probably not going to end up with A&M this cycle, but you never know what happens down the road. Obviously, we're very happy with the current QB1 situation in Connor Wigman, but this is like a long-term thing to look at. Most of these guys have unfortunately pushed back their signing periods to the later signing period, but it's a very small class. Blake Ivy, obviously battling for him. Dalen Evans has pushed his commitment back. Bussey's pushed it back. I believe McKinley's pushed it back. These guys are all going to be taking visits. I think a couple of guys may sign early, like Ashton Funk's probably going to sign. Miles Davis is going to sign. I believe Miles O'Neill will sign. I believe Jordan Lockhart will sign. Anthony Smith, I would not be surprised if he's pushing it back. I think he will. He's getting courted by Texas and others, I believe. It's a very small, I believe, 15 commit list. You have to imagine this list is going to grow into the 20s. So you wonder who Elko adds to this recruiting transition group of kids. I'd like to hear your opinions on who you think sticks around. Terry Bussey, I mean, he's playing today with a Texas A&M decal on his helmet and Longhorn gloves on his hands. Man, these kids have all the power in the world. Guys, we have open phone lines right now. If you guys want to call in, click that link. It's pinned at the top of the chat. You're going to be asked to enter a waiting room, and I'll pull you guys in one by one to talk Aggie football. If you guys don't want to get on and we're done calling tonight, we can just chat, and we can end the stream a little bit early tonight. So far, the voice is holding up, so we're doing good. Let's see what you guys are saying. So people don't really want Santucci. I get it. I understand. And that's not a move you make now after waiting for so long. It's the slam dunk hire. I don't know who that is. We got a report from, like I said, from Lucci this morning saying that NFL guys are not off the table. So that blows my mind. I really have no idea who this D coordinator might be. Gary says many coaches want to run their system. Elko likely wants to run his stuff. I definitely agree with that. So, yeah. Truffle Shuffle says, folks treating time like this, it's like a mock draft. RELAX. No one knows. No sense in freaking out. Perez says, well, I was in the Marine Corps. Guys who are strong and fast don't always make them better. It's the ones who have a strong mind that make it out through the hardest situations. That's a great point. That's a great point. Truffle Shuffle says, hit the like button, everybody. Noble, what's up, Noble? Good to see you, man. We're just talking about E-Rob. If you want to rewind to the beginning of the show, I gave a little rant about the E-Rob situation. Talked about the new schedule. Talking a little bit of recruiting, a little bit of coaching search, a little bit of everything. We're just kind of reacting to the landscape. It's crazy times. Everything's happening at once. There are so many kids with offers in the portal from A&M right now. It's insane. All right. We have Playoff Spurhorn. Playoff Spurhorn, you're on with Drew. What's on your mind, Playoff Spurhorn?
Hey, Drew. Thanks for having me. Nothing really. I just wanted to call and kind of talk about this new 2024 schedule that's coming out. It's awesome to see. I'm a Longhorn fan, of course, and I'm excited to see some big brands on our schedule. But I kind of wanted to talk about A&M's schedule.
Okay, I'll pull up ours and I'll pull up y'all's next. We can look at your cupcake schedule.
Yeah, they're both cupcake schedules, but that's my point.
Yeah, go on.
I just think that I've always been a guy that thought Jimbo Fisher should have been fired. And I know we're kind of going backwards here with this dialogue, but just stick with me. But just looking at this 2024 schedule for Texas A&M and kind of seeing the situation right now, they're very much in flux for like a critical, what was supposed to be a critical year.
Yeah.
And hindsight's 2020, and I'm sure like maybe in a month, like or a couple weeks from now, it'll look a lot better for Elko once he gets everybody in place. But I just can't help but wonder what A&M would have looked like next year if they just kept the whole squad together one more year, let them grow up one more year. Patch it.
That's a really, really interesting point, and I was for keeping Jimbo one more year, one last ride. But at this point, I'm not sure that some of these guys who hit the portal now wouldn't have hit the portal if Jimbo stayed, because that's 2 years in a row falling very short of expectations. So I think even if Jimbo stays, you're looking at people leaving, and I think maybe more so on the offensive side of the ball. So, I mean, it's an interesting point. Maybe you keep the band together, but after going 5-7, and then what are we, 7-5? I don't know, man. I don't know. I think there's a point there, but I was coming to the conclusion that maybe you still would have lost a bunch of dudes. It's weird. We'll never know. We'll never know. And who knows? Maybe Jimbo wouldn't even have got it done if he kept the boys together, because I don't know. It's hard to say. We'll never know. I still have this feeling that you still would have lost a bunch of players. Do you want to look at your schedule? Spurhorn, you with me? Playoff Spurhorn.
You not hear me?
Oh, you're
Hello?
back. Truffle Shuffle says our O would have hit the portal hard if Jimbo was still here. BP Koch says 12-12 in 2 years. Robinson still would have left. So basically what everyone is saying is you probably still would have lost guys. Probably more on the offensive side of the ball. Robinson, it's probably still his time to go. He's probably still getting offers this year. It's not like him becoming an interim for 2 weeks. All of a sudden led him to getting offers. So you probably still lose Robinson. Yeah, I think you still lose a bunch of guys in the portal, and I think the chat feels the same way. But initially, I was for trying Jimbo another year, but after the losses kept racking up, I mean, I understood the decision. But did you want to look at your schedule or our schedule?
You can pull y'all's up, because I think our schedule actually is easier than y'all's, because if you go game by game, like there's a lot of tricky games for y'all that we don't really have. Like I guess at Arkansas is definitely tricky for us, but like y'all have at Auburn. That's scary. Jordan Hare is always
Always.
tough, and then Hugh Freeze is going to be a dynasty here in a couple of years once he buys some more
I
players.
really think he will be. Yep.
And at South Carolina, that's a hard place to. I know they're horrible, but they just got Rocket Sanders out of the portal, and I think Beamer might be able
Ooh.
to put something together.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. We have good history there. We'll see. I don't. We'll have to see what their team shakes out to be. Yeah, I mean, let's look at yours. I haven't even looked at yours yet. I know you play Michigan. So you open with Colorado State. You go to Michigan in week 2. UTSA at home. I think y'all have proven that y'all can handle UTSA. ULM.
Yeah,
Then you'll have Mississippi State at home. Okay, the OU into Georgia that's pretty brutal. You have
yeah,
a bye before it though. Vanderbilt. Oh, you get Vandy. One of your road games is Vandy. Yeah, that makes your schedule just innately more easy. Just having one of your away SEC games at Vandy. Florida, Arkansas. At Arkansas is never easy. They just love to beat y'all. Kentucky, and then the game you're going to lose on November 30th. Yeah, I mean, I think your schedule is a little bit easier. But at Michigan, I think it's tougher than home versus Notre Dame. How do you feel about your schedule?
yeah. That's true. Michigan's tougher than Notre Dame because I think they're going to have McCarthy back, which makes it tough. But yeah, I like our schedule. I think we only have 3 true road games, which is crazy because it's only at Vanderbilt, which doesn't even count. It's like a home game, and then
Yeah,
A&M. I'm not even counting that. I'm not even counting A&M. Like that's its own.
that's true. That's an
That
island.
game's in the vacuum. Yeah.
Yeah.
No matter where that game was played at, it's going to be just unreal for both sides. So only like real road games at Arkansas. I mean, aside from Michigan, and
Yeah,
we'll see what
without a
Arkansas
conference.
is.
You can lose the Michigan game, I guess, in theory, and still be okay. Yeah, just the OU Georgia thing just screams like, I mean, that's gonna be a brutal 2-game stretch. At least you get Georgia at home, and then you get a bye before it, Vandy after it, and then a bye after that. So it's kind of that duo's kind of on an island of its own. That is kind of nice
Yeah.
as far as like a duo like that goes. Yeah, your schedule doesn't look bad. Dang, what is happening? Welcome to the SEC. Take this cupcake.
I know. I like it. I like it. Everybody's
I
like,
hate that you like it. Yeah.
because
Ours,
I
I
look at
mean,
OU schedule and it's way harder than ours.
let's look
It's
at
crazy.
OU's. Temple, Houston, Tulane, then SEC play. Tennessee at Auburn, Texas. Home versus South Carolina at Ole Miss. Cupcake at Missouri. Oh, Alabama at LSU. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't draw. Y'all got Georgia.
Any West teams? Only West teams we got were like A&M and like
Mississippi State.
that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah,
So yeah.
that's not bad. I mean, I definitely see 10-2 here when you lose to Michigan and Texas A&M. Oh no, 9-3. You lose to Georgia too. You're going 9-3. You don't have to watch the
If
schedule.
Quinn comes back, we might go back to back natties. We might win the Big 12 and SEC, win the natty this year, probably win it next
So
year
you're already
too.
chalking it up this year?
I'm not chalking it up.
Okay,
but
you're going to call in after the Washington game. You're going to call in after the Washington game, and we're going to see how things went. Okay, fair enough.
yeah, I'm terrified for that game. I'm not chalking that up. But I think if we get past them, I think we'll win it. But
Oh, so you think you're going to win the rematch? Okay, interesting.
yeah,
I like it. I like it.
I think we'll definitely beat Bama again if we play them.
Okay. All right. If you beat Saban twice, that's a pretty respectable thing to do. Well, all right, Spurhorn, what else you got? Are you done for the night?
Just one more thing on the schedule, kind of relevant to A&M and Texas. I was looking at the teams that we play the week before our game, right? Like second to the last week of the season, y'all play at Auburn. We play home against Kentucky.
Yeah.
I think that benefits Texas, at least that perspective, because going into Auburn's tough. So I like that. And also, kind of back to what I was saying, I think I would be much more frightened. I mean, right now it's hard to really say anything about what A&M's going to be next year, but I was much more scared of playing A&M with Jimbo and how it was going to look next year with like Walter Nolan and all those guys. So I don't know. We'll see how it turns out for y'all, but right now I'm feeling pretty like we can win that game. So
We'll see. I mean, if the roster falls apart, sure, you're gonna have a better chance. But we know how that game goes. I mean, y'all could be 2-10, and we could be 1-11, and you never know what's gonna happen or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But Kentucky's nothing to scoff at as your game before A&M. I mean, they're a very physical team. They play that physical brand of football. We'll see. We'll see how y'all go.
Yeah.
I mean, at Auburn's obviously a tough trip, but like you said, that game's on an island. But real quick before I let you go, I want to I want to show you like a visual representation of the guillotine in modern society. It's pertains to Billy Napier's job, and it's the Florida schedule. So let's just look at this Florida schedule real quick. Miami, then Samford. You get to relax a little bit, but then you have A&M on the road at Mississippi State. And keep in mind, this isn't your grandma's Florida. This is a rebuild Florida. So at Mississippi State might not be the easiest task. UCF, which is also not a great out-of-conference Power 5 opponent, considering you already play Miami and Florida State as an out-of-conference Power 5 opponent. Then you have the at Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and then at Florida State. This season is a formality for Billy Napier. Isn't it?
Yeah, and it sucks for him because, I mean, I think a success for him would be like winning 5 games on that schedule would be a successful season. And even if he wins 5, they're going to fire him, of course. So, like, he's just, it's just a formality. I guess, just have some fun out there.
Let's just have a good time. Here's the thing. I mean, they could fire him now. You're going to, like, skip a few steps and just do it now and get it over with. But why not let him be the scapegoat? Don't throw the new coach into this schedule. Plus, Billy's only been there for a year. At least give him 2 years. So it's like the most, I don't know. What if they shock the world and win 7 games? Wouldn't that be insane?
Yeah, shock the world and win 7 games. Yeah. That's funny because, like that would shock the world, and it's still only 7 games. That's how hard that schedule is.
Yeah. Oh, it's brutal for Billy. Look at the end of that year. The bye week, and then Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. I mean, come on, man.
I know.
Come on. That is just an insane 5-game stretch. Well, that could be us. That's going to be our teams one of these years. I mean, with the randomization of the SEC schedule, however they're doing it now, you never know what you're going to get because there's no more divisions. I mean, there's no pods yet. There's nothing set in stone yet. I know that the future is still in flux, but this could be anybody's schedule any given year. But actually, that's not true, right? Because they have the built-in Florida State game. Isn't that a yearly thing?
Yeah, they're going to play them they've had it. They're not going to get rid of it anytime soon.
So them and South Carolina, who plays Clemson, they're the ones that have to deal with it.
Yeah.
And Georgia only has to deal with Georgia Tech every year. That must be nice. Built-in Georgia Tech game. All right.
Hey, don't hate on Haynes King. Haynes King's building a program.
Haynes King is building a program. Good for Haynes King. All right, Spurhorn, I'm going to let you go. Thanks for calling in.
All right.
Adios. Look, I had to dunk a little bit on this Florida schedule. That is just insane. Oh, by the way, I just looked at chat. Quinn sucks. Penix will destroy them, just like last year. Quinn is cheeks. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Florida have any good O-line hitting the portal? Not that I know of. I know a really good tackle out of OU just hit the portal. Be interesting to see if A&M gets involved with that. There's a lot of guys in the portal. There's a bunch of A&M offers out there. I'm probably not going to speculate much about the portal or recruiting because that's not really my place. I'll leave that to the insiders. I'll definitely react to the classes once it's all said and done. Just keep in mind, once again, I'm a reaction guy. I'm not like a speculator about inside information. All right, last caller. We have Theo. So, Theo, you're powering through your sickness and you called in, man. I appreciate it. How you doing?
You know I can't let you go with just one guy calling you or 2 guys calling you, man.
Thanks, Theo, man. I'm fighting through some voice crap too, so no worries here. What's on your mind tonight, man?
Not much. Just kind of chilling, watching Bussy set all kinds of records at the state title game, and
is he going
praying
off
that
still?
we get to keep him.
Oh man.
He has a 92-yard rushing touchdown that is a state record, and he has like a 97-yard passing touchdown that is a state record.
Of course. That dude is just ridiculous. Man, I hope you keep him. That's such an important player. I don't even know where he would play here. What position would he play?
They were recruiting him for cornerback, but I want him at wide receiver, cornerback, running back, just anywhere.
Just plug and play.
Plug and play. Let him play wherever he wants to play. If he wants to play quarterback, then of course, he'll have to settle down and focus at the quarterback. But
yeah.
If he plays cornerback, then you can put him at receiver. You can put him at running back. You can put little packages here, just 3, 4, 5 plays here or there
Yeah,
on the offensive side, and
I think it's smart. I think he's just that kind of a talent. I don't think you go Travis Hunter where you just like run him into the ground where you plays every single rep on both sides of the ball. But as a situational guy, move him around. I would stick him at corner and then, like you said, use him situationally wherever you want to. He's that kind of a dude. Man, that's gonna be a tough battle. I don't know,
and
man. All of them are.
and whenever you want to, like it'd be a nice little change of pace. Thinking like a Nia Smith in the running back field and stuff like that, how that changes the
Absolutely.
dynamics a little bit.
Just an absolute playmaker. What else is on your mind, Theo?
That's all I got.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in, man. Hopefully we get a DC soon. I'm getting a little worried about it. 6.5 out of 10. That's where I'm at. Every day it's going to creep up.
I'm telling you, don't be afraid of that Troy defensive coordinator.
You're not the first one to tell me that. Yeah, yeah.
He sees everything from the triple option at Georgia State and Georgia Southern to, the spread at Appalachian State and then Old Dominion and Liberty. Like he sees all the offenses, and he's right there in the top 25 year in and year out. So why not go get someone who sees everything?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, man. Well, last thing I'm going to ask you before you go, how you feeling about the Moffitt hire?
I love it.
Amazing, right?
I do kind of wonder how much he has in his tank left.
That's true.
We'll see, because someone pointed out, this could be his like last paycheck before he goes off into retirement. So maybe he's just looking for a paycheck, but I don't see that because of the way he is. Like he seems to have like a lot of integrity.
Yeah.
And requires a lot of integrity out of his players. So someone who's like that isn't just going to take a paycheck just to go off into the sunset.
Sure. And hey, yeah, and talking about he's up there in age, he's been around. If you get like a 3-year run out of him, I think you're happy with that, just to set the tone on this program. I mean, he's got young hires going elsewhere. I mean, it's strength and conditioning. It's going to go a long way if you get a guy in there for a few years. So I think it's a great
Well, not just
hire.
that, but his youngest son is in college at LSU, so he's gonna need to pay for the tuition stuff.
There you go.
So he's gonna be motivated to work for at least 3 or 4 years to
Absolutely.
get that paid off.
Absolutely. Aggieland 79 says he's going to set a culture, and I think he definitely will. He's that kind of a guy. Well, all right, Theo, I appreciate you powering through. You get better, all right, man?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a good one.
Night. Thanks for calling in, Theo. Yeah, man, what a great hire. If you get him for a few years, set a culture, set a routine, get a very experienced and respected message across to the team. It's a great hire. All right. Noble, you're on with Drew. What's on your mind tonight, Noble?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Not much.
Long time no see.
Thanks for calling. Hey, you got TV on in the background?
Oh, yeah, sorry. There's the music playing in the background of my gym. So
Okay, I got you. No worries. It's better now.
Let me get out of here real quick. Let me get in the
you're
quiet
good.
area.
I appreciate you calling in, man. What you got?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to call in just to say, some observations on the new schedule, not just for A&M, but for all the other SEC schools. I'm going to try to get out of here real quick.
No, you're good. When you talk, it kind of goes away, so you're good. Just keep talking as you get out.
Sweet. Well, anyways, so my main thoughts on A&M schedule is, I know we don't have the hardest schedule. So quite frankly, it almost doesn't matter who we play, so long as we're able to get the talent acquisition and development run on the right side, which goes back to coaching hires, which is where I don't think I called in since we hired Colin Klein. Fantastic hire.
Yep.
Can't wait to see what we do on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously the lack of DC hiring is concerning, and then the outflux of all the defensive talent that essentially that was our foundation. That was our rock that this team was built upon. So on the other hand, I feel like while we lost all those guys, that hurts. But the fact is, Elko's a defensive guy, and that the defense is his bread and butter, and he's gonna get it, figured out one way or another. Quite frankly, I even think if it comes to it, like I'm sure he wants to be hands off, be more the CEO type. But if he has to find like a placeholder DC, he'll run the whole thing himself if he needs to.
And and to your point, this is not something I really thought about, but when Elko, I think his last season here, A&M had a top 8 defense, I believe, in the country, and
it was very high.
And he did not have that 2022 talent on the team. It was a talented defense, but it wasn't like the 2022 level of power index players, if you will. So
I think Chappelle was still a freshman that year.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that D-line talent or anything like that. So, or even he was still working with some of the like juniors and seniors from like the Sumlin era, if I remember correctly.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
But I was looking at, so here's an interesting observation about some of the other SEC schedules.
What you got?
Arkansas.
Let's pull it up.
That is brutal.
I gotta see it.
They're not going bullying next year. That's a fact. Like it's gonna be all they can do just to keep for Pittman to keep his job. And my prediction is that like Pittman is fired by like week 8, and you're gonna see we're gonna come full circle. Petrino's gonna be the interim head coach, and by end of the season, they're gonna announce him as the head coach moving forward.
Who, Bobby?
Yep, Bobby Petrino.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Honestly, I can't say I'm not a fan of what's going on in Arkansas with the coaching. I love Bobby there. I mean, I hate that we have to play him. I think it's kind of, I don't know. As someone that talks about the sport, it's fun. But let's look at their schedule. So they start with the Golden Lions, but then they're out of conferences at Oklahoma State, not easy. UEB at home, then at Auburn, A&M and Jerry World, Tennessee, LSU, at Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Texas, Louisiana Tech, and Missouri. I mean, they could win, let's see, 1. Let's just do the easy ones first. 1, 2.
Yeah, it's
3
tough
games.
to find the losses. I mean, the wins
for sure. 3 games, maybe for sure. I mean, yeah, another rough year.
I have an Arkansas buddy, and he told me he only had 1 game that he thought was a for sure win. Like UAB is not a nobody program anymore.
It's true. Neither is La Tech. I mean, then Tennessee.
Any given year,
LSU.
they'll ruin someone's season.
I know, and they end, of course, at Missouri, who is no longer like a cellar dweller. They're good. So, and you're at Missouri. I mean, man, they're gonna need to win Oklahoma State. Auburn's gonna be tough. Yeah, I mean, you're right. This is absolutely. brutal.
Auburn ran them out of their own house in Hugh Freeze's year 1. Like, and another thing, we're gonna deviate to Auburn. Like, Auburn is absolutely raking in wide receivers, including Cam Coleman, and so like it just.
Yeah.
Like, I know we're going to be better moving forward, but, like, Hugh Freeze and Auburn look like an absolute juggernaut moving forward.
Yeah, I think he was always going to build it into a dynasty. He's a good coach. It's a great place to do it at. I mean, yeah. And their schedule next year, I'm just going to check it out. Alabama.
Yeah,
Cal,
I don't know what their schedule looks like,
Alabama
actually.
A&M. Not a bad out-of-conference schedule, and their first 5 games are at home, including Arkansas and OU. Yeah, They could have a good year next year. I mean, why not? They get some momentum early in the year. Yeah, I mean, they're going to be a problem, and A&M goes at Auburn next year, so we'll see how that goes.
I think next year could be quite a few, like, head coaching changes as well. Like, I think Billy Napier is going to get the axe next year. Like, that schedule is just brutal. You already talked about it earlier in the night. And I think, obviously, I mentioned Pittman, but then I wouldn't mention, I think South Carolina, unless they pull off some miracles here and there, I don't see that, him, progressing much better than 6-6 or 7-5. That being said, I haven't seen this game.
I know, man. It's tough, and they like him there. I like him for South Carolina, but I mean, how long can you let a coach just win a few games and keep him on just because you feel good about him? They got their schedule: Old Dominion, at Kentucky, LSU, Akron, Ole Miss, Bama, OU. Back-to-back weeks on the road. Ouch.
Oh God.
Then a bye week. Then A&M. They get the at Vandy, which is a nice away game in the SEC. Then Missouri, Wofford, then of course at Clemson. They have to throw that in every year. But yeah, man.
3 guaranteed wins, maybe.
Yeah. It's another rough year. Well, I can't even predict A&M's schedule yet because if you keep a lot of players, I mean, these games are all none of them are easy. I don't want to say it's like an easy schedule. I think it's a manageable schedule that you.
It was a manageable schedule with the talent we had on this year's team, but we can't do that anymore. Like, we're gonna have to find out week by week next year, which is gonna be fun, exciting, and terrifying all at the same time.
So right now, knowing what you know, do you see 9 wins on this schedule? Only knowing what you know now, kind of speculating forward what you think's gonna happen. Do you see 9 wins?
Yeah, based off speculation, like I see, yeah, because I believe in the program overall, so I believe that we will get the talent one way or another.
Okay.
Even if we have to piecemeal it this
Yeah.
year,
Which
year
is okay.
one.
You can do that
Yeah.
now.
And then I also believe in Elko's ability to develop talent. Like Colin Klein can, I believe in his ability to, put together an effective offense on the field based on what we've seen. And then I believe in like just because Elko is, the head coach as defensive guy, he'll figure it out one way or another.
Yeah.
I don't know what like the real question is what the identity of this team looks like next year. I think it's been crazy because the last few years, like we've gone to, we've been so defensive heavy because the offense has been so stagnant and
Yeah.
like piss poor to watch. But next year, like if and this might be kind of crazy, but I think we might be relying on the offense more to say because I think with so long as we can piece together a good O line, but I quite frankly I think getting rid of Adazia was addition through subtraction,
Sure.
and so we'll have a better O line that can protect Connor better, and if we can put some weapons together for Connor, I believe in Connor that he can get the job done to get 9 wins.
I mean, it's definitely on the table. Here's the thing about the A&M offense. They averaged, I believe, 35 points per game this year, which isn't terrible. But the thing about the offense was it was so damn inconsistent. It would be
and second halves were bad.
Second halves, I mean, it would just go dead for either like a full game or a half or whatever. And they could never just put a full game together. Defense played pretty well, but they also had their bad moments. Alabama, Miami. I mean, LSU is a juggernaut offense. I mean, I think that's safe to say that they're a really freaking good offense, but still got, dunked on late in that game. I just want to see some consistent play, man. I just want to see this team go out there and play clean football from start to finish and give yourself a chance.
Yeah, I will say, if you want a consistency, the one thing A&M was very good at being consistent about was finding a way to lose. Like
That's right.
I was not joking when I said like Jimbo was like managed to clutch the defeat in the jaws of victory time and time again, and it was awful to watch. Like at first, like first couple during his first few years, it was like okay, he doesn't have his guys, he's building the team. He gets a pass. And then as it going on, I was like, okay, these guys are young. We need to let them develop. And then like, especially like after last year and this year, it was like, okay, these guys, sophomores, juniors, how are we not pulling off? This is his resume. This is, who he is. He's not able to adapt. There's a reason why our offense gets shut down in the second half and our defense can't hold out forever.
Yep.
Like the Tennessee loss was atrocious to me, like this year. Like
man, I know.
That,
I was at that game and
yeah.
I was that game I think pissed me off more than maybe any game this year. Maybe the Ole Miss loss too because he had so many opportunities. But I have an unhealthy obsession with A&M football. I was physically shaking and my fingertips were going cold because I was getting so angry at the offense just running itself into the ground at the end of that game. That game,
I felt so bad for Max in that game.
Max.
He was running for his life.
In that game, in Arkansas second half, he lost confidence from getting hit.
Oh, yeah.
He changed. Remember in first half of Arkansas, second half of Auburn, he was lighting it up. He was making contested passes, sitting in the pocket. He looked like a future NFLer to me for 2 halves to start his year. But then as soon as he started getting hit over and over, I think it got in his head, and I think it messed with him, and we just saw his confidence go down, in my opinion, over the year, which sucked. But yeah, that Tennessee game was brutal. We need to see consistency, man. We really do.
Yeah, I used to think that. You were gonna say something?
No, go for it.
I used to think that with the way Jimbo coached quarterbacks was like, I liked how he back in the day, anyways, he'd get on them to do the right thing, make the right reads, and all this stuff. But then it was like time passed on. I was like, you keep yelling at variety of different quarterbacks. Like at one point, it's like, why is he having to make read the encyclopedia, like just 1-2 reads ago, and like every other offense in college football does. Yeah. And right now, and he's trying to dissect it like he's a a heart surgeon. I'm like, like they've simplified offenses enough to make it doable for even the most adequate like there's probably a dozen quarterbacks that are talent-wise worse than what A&M had, and yet they have better numbers than A&M quarterbacking looks like, which is not a great thing.
They continually forced Max to drop back and kind of do these 5-step drops and read the coverage plays when they couldn't really protect him. It got a lot better with Jalen Henderson because it was his strong suit. I don't know. It just didn't work out, and that's kind of how it always felt. I always felt weird body language between Jimbo and the quarterback. In hindsight's 2020. We didn't win.
Yep.
When you lose, you feel worse about everything. But I always felt weird about it. I felt like they had to overcome both the opponent and then Jimbo, who they had to face on the sideline.
Yes.
It was always a thing I thought. I thought it about Kellen in his first year too, and then Kellen finally got it together that one year where the O-line came together. So, yeah.
It felt adversarial.
It did. It was weird, man. I definitely see that.
So I'm looking forward to do we know who the is Colin Klein gonna be the quarterback coach, or
I don't think we know that yet, but I think it would make a lot of sense for him to be the quarterback coach. He was the quarterback coach before he was the OC at Kansas State for several years. So, yeah, I think he will be.
And then I guess my last question will be with I wonder who we're gonna use on keeping on the offensive side, who our primary weapons are gonna be. I think a lot depends on who we hire at wide receiver, because then you can keep Stewart, and then I think Moose is a pretty good chance to keep too. And then we got Donovan Green, but then and I think it's Ja'Day Walker too, I guess. And,
yeah. I think.
I guess we're still good at offense.
Right. I think Evan and Moose kind of become your playmakers who you get the ball to in space and you let them make something happen, because you lose Anias and he was that guy. And I think the running backs, you have a good chance of all of them to at least marginally improve. The O-line's going to improve. The scheme's going to improve. So I think all three running backs, whoever stays, I don't know who's staying or going, I think they all have a chance to be involved. Multiple running back sets, rotation. I think those guys are all going to be involved. And then I think Noah and Ja'Day are kind of your jump ball threats, your route runners, your guys that are just, sure-handed, big-bodied. And I
not
think
quite Keon Coleman, but
no,
same build.
But we've seen flashes like that from Noah. He just didn't put a full year together. He couldn't stay healthy. I mean, I still have really high hopes for Noah. But I think as far as ball in the hand playmakers, all three running backs and Evan, and I think Moose is poised for a big year. I hope Moose sticks around.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. I'm right now we're just kind of in flux, and all I can do is just rely on I trust Elko to eventually get it done one way or another.
Yep. Well, the schedule's nice, so hopefully he at least makes something of it next year. I mean, I want to see 9 wins. That's again what we need to see. We need to get past this 7-8 win hump. I mean, I think it's on the table. I think we're still going the right direction. I think we just need to let things play out, and we'll see how it goes. So hopefully next time we talk,
I'm still
we'll have better
optimistic enough, we can get 10+ wins.
Yeah, of
That
course,
might be
of
a
course.
little irrational, but
no, I think it's
all
possible.
I can do right now.
Yeah, it's possible. I just I don't want to see 8 wins. I guess is what I'm getting at. I just don't want that to happen again in Elko's year 1.
I take 8 wins over the 7 we have
Of course.
It's been brutal last a couple of years, and I hate to I just want to get back to our I'll take Texas for 1 year and 1 year alone. We'll take Texas 8-4. I'll let the jokes write themselves. But
yeah, we just can't. I don't want to butcher year 1. You know what I mean? I mean, we need a strong year 1 with this schedule with Texas on.
I mean, 4 losses on this. I don't even know where the losses would come from, and I'd hate to even consider November 30th as that doesn't even count. That's we play 11 games and then we play a whole new season on November 30th.
Yeah, exactly. I think the games that look like the most red flag to me. I think Notre Dame, first game under a new staff. That's always going to be difficult. Notre Dame.
Is that week
1.
0, by the way?
I think it's week 1.
Is it week 1? Okay.
I believe it's week 1. Yeah.
Because I saw. Do we have 2 bye weeks? Is that right?
I don't know how it happened. Yeah, I don't know how it worked out this way, but there are 2
That's
bye
amazing.
weeks.
That's
I'm trying to wrap my head around how there's 2 bye weeks.
Because the dates line up. But
yeah. Can anybody explain how there's 2 bye weeks? Because how do they just fit an extra bye week in there?
Are there other teams with 2 bye weeks? Or is it just
all the other SEC teams I believe have 2 bye weeks. Let's see.
Oh.
So South Carolina 2 bye weeks, Arkansas 2 bye weeks. Yeah. I mean, it's November 30th. That's still the weekend after Thanksgiving, I believe. So I think that's the normal end time. Maybe this. I mean, that's weird. I don't know. Maybe it's August 31, August 31st would originally have been week 0, but now they just moved the whole thing back, and now week 0 is August 24th. So I don't know. Maybe someone in the chat can explain. But all right, Noble, what else you got?
No, that was really it.
Awesome,
some hope and optimism, and I've all my friends who they're probably mentally conserving me because they saw me throughout the season, like with like my head in my hands throughout the season, the
Ugh.
absolute lows, and now I look like absolute delusional. Like, hey guys, 16-0, here we come.
Let's go. We're coming. All right, Noble. I appreciate it, man, and we'll see how things go. I hope to hear from you soon.
Absolutely, staying tuned.
Later, man. All right, Noble. Thanks for calling. Philip Mixon. Yes, Maddox is still committed as of now, but that is going to be tough to keep. Ole Miss having a really strong push for him. I think it's likely that he flips. I think it's likely that him and Jernigan flip. But of course, I'm not the guy to speculate. I don't want you to take what I'm saying as like anything from a point of knowledge because I'm not an insider. So it sounds like Maddox is turning the wrong way though. 14 weeks between Labor Day and Thanksgiving. Yeah, it just works out that way this year, I guess. Well, I love it. I love it. It works perfectly, and it's a beautiful schedule. I mean, I love 2 bye weeks. That's desperately needed. And you still have your G5 or FCS opponent in November. This year, it's not. It's G5. It's not. The FCS game happens in week 3 this year, I believe. Well, all right, guys. I think we're going to call that a show tonight. Yes, I agree with Rangers King 2. Trailer is poised for a good job. Hold on, I need to change the screen. Talking about Trailer, he's poised for the climb. He's poised to be a head coach at a major program soon. Arkansas would be a good fit. I thought U of H would have been a good fit. I don't know if it was ideal, but I would have accepted him at Texas A&M. But I think he definitely needs to take that stepping stool job for a few years. He has a lot of potential. Yeah. David lost his optimism after the 21 LSU game. That game was just brutal because we technically should have won that game with the fumble. Trey says Terry Bussey representing the A&M logo. Yes, and then he's wearing the Texas gloves though, so it's like a mixed bag right there. I think of all the high profile commits, I feel the best about Bussey. That's just my opinion. Philip Mixon. So Billy Lucci has said that they're putting the full court press on keeping Nolan. So Nolan is on the table for staying. And I don't know if you guys saw, Walter Nolan put on his Instagram story a picture of his face and just the caption, "Know your worth." So there might be some NIL negotiations happening. I don't know. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here in just a minute. There's 57 viewers and only 25 likes. Before we get out of here, if we get those likes up to 35, that would be really helpful. I appreciate you guys tuning in, liking, subscribing. You guys have been great. We'll keep doing this show every Wednesday. We'll add more shows as needed. I didn't add a second one this Monday, mostly because I felt terrible. I probably still would have done one if I didn't feel sick. I'm getting over it now. I was able to get through this show. I feel like that's an accomplishment. Thank you guys for being here. But if we have no one else in the call in the call waiting room, no more chat, we're gonna get out of here, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm probably gonna drop a video breaking down the schedule more, either tomorrow or Friday, just giving you like my full comprehensive thoughts on it. And then I'll be back either Monday or Wednesday of next week. Look out for my Twitter or my X, and I'll probably post in here on the YouTube channel as well.